for week 21, we are doing letter U, and it has a really funky serif on it. It's kind of an arrow, but it was inspired by wrought iron gates that I used to see a lot when we lived in Charleston, South Carolina. So for letter U, you're not really drawing a shape quite like that. So how I usually do it is I will draw my 2 lines like that. And then, whoop, I'm on the same layer as before. I need that on its own layer. So to fix that, I can just select it with the arrow tool and then click cut and paste, and now it is on its own layer. So I'll duplicate that and drag it over here. So that's the basis of my letter U. Then I come in from this angle and add the curved element. Kind of like that. That side's not very good, but we can touch it up just by kind of tapping it in. So that's the main trick to letter U, is starting with your straight lines, and then you get that nice shape, especially when we are doing something that is a mono width, so everything is the same. And then for my serif this time, I'm gonna do it on a new layer so I can just bring it over and copy it. So when you draw your serif for this one, don't come too close to your middle line or they're gonna touch. You just want it to come a wee bit over, about like that. And then I draw myself kind of a little guideline here, just eyeball the middle. And then just like when we do the spurs on the side of letters, you're just gonna connect it like that and like that. And now since it's on its own layer, I can swipe left, duplicate, and then drag it over to the top of the other one. And if you wanted to make it extra playful, you could maybe make this one shorter than that one. See how that makes it a little more playful versus them being exactly the same. So it just depends on, like, if you're doing a bigger piece, what the overall feel of the piece is if you wanted to do that. I'm gonna pinch our main 3 layers together now so I can color it in. So I'll drag and drop, click continue filling and tap that in. And that looks pretty good. So the only thing I really need to do is clean up this one edge that got a little wonky. And that came out really good the first time. As you see with letter T, that did not happen with certain letters or certain days. Sometimes you just get it and you get lucky on the first try. The other way you could do this letter is start like we did it and draw yourself kind of a guideline. And then I find this method more precise, what we just did, but you could also take like a much bigger monoline brush, get it, let's see, I need a new, oh, not a new layer. Oh, I want a brush, not an eraser. Let me think about where I have a bigger brush. There, okay. So I wanna make it about that size. You could do this to kind of keep the width consistent, but it always ends up kind of funky down here and you have to erase a little anyway. So I tend to prefer the line method, but if you were going for something, you know, that doesn't need to be super precise, and then you could just use your selection tool to take the top off. You can just use a monoline brush and get a really almost perfect consistent width. I just prefer for this one to do the first method I showed you, but that is an option. All right, so I'll turn my opacity back on our letter U. I'm gonna copy it and paste it over into our template. And we've only got a few letters to go. I will see you next week for letter V.